Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, thank you for stopping by. My name is Michiko and basically I make videos about my life here in Canada, and if you are a returning subscriber, thank you so much for coming back. So today I'm just gonna be casually talking about my life or living in Singapore versus living in Canada. I do have some people who've watched my previous video who have reached out, and some of them has left some comments about, you know, them wanting to move from Singapore to Canada. So I just wanted to share kind of like my life experience, you know, having lived here for 2 years, what are the noticeable challenges or changes I've noticed from living in Singapore and Canada. So if you are interested to know more, stay tuned and let's get started. For the first one that I'm going to be talking about today is basically kind of like the way of life. Way of life in Singapore and Canada obviously is going to be different. The kind of, I would say, quality of life as well, that would be very dependent on, you know, your own kind of lifestyle. What do you prefer and whatnot. So maybe I could share some components that I think would be important if, let's say, you're living in Singapore and you're kind of planning your move here in Canada. I think the most important would be, would there be opportunities for me perhaps in my, sorry about that, my window is currently open right now. Let me just close it and I'll be back. Sorry about that. Perfect. All right. So, job opportunities. So, if you move to Canada, would you have a job? Of course, that will really differ. If you're interested about what are the job opportunities here in Toronto, I'm going to put in my video or my last videos about living in Toronto, or should you move to Toronto, up here. But that would be really dependent on which city you would move in. There are some cities in Canada where, let's say, maybe tech is much more dominant, or finance is, or construction or whatnot. So research a couple of the Canadian cities you do want to move in, and then perhaps from there you could narrow down which Canadian city do you think you'll be able, or you'll easily find a job. I cannot talk today. Anyway, so in terms of job opportunities, find out first, I guess, you know, which city do you feel you want to move into. Now for me, second kind of like driving factor on whether, or when we were looking to move here, is that the weather, right? I'm a very outdoorsy person. I love running outside. I love just being outside. I love the sun. I love the heat. And in Singapore, you probably would know, it's all year round summer, right? Temperature can range up to 30 degrees. Now in Canada, that would be different. Toronto itself, like what I mentioned on that video, is that it can get really, really cold. So if you're someone who hates winter, you hate snow, like that, it's gonna be like that here for almost 6 months. It's gonna stretch out until that time. So that's something you want to consider when you want to move to Canada. Well, there are other places in Canada as well, especially in the West Coast, where it could be milder temperature. So you want to check out which city do you think you want to move to. Maybe you wanted a mix of both and you don't mind winter, then maybe an Ottawa or Montreal would be suited for you. Do you have family? Are you single? Those are, you know, different factors that you wanted to think about before moving here. Now, another part that I'm going to be sharing, let's say you are really looking seriously to move here. Another part to consider would be public transportation, or transportation in general. So you might want to ask yourself, which city you want to move into. Is it a big city or is it more a countryside? So if it's more a countryside that you're moving into, you know, you really do need a car. So if you're not driving back in Singapore, it could be difficult for you for the first year because you do need to get your G1, or kind of like the first step in the driver's license licensing program here in Ontario. At least they do have similar ones in maybe BC or in Quebec, but it could be difficult for you for the first year if you don't know how to drive. Now, if you're moving into a big city like Toronto itself, we do have great public transportation, so that's something you don't have to think about anymore. And another part that you wanted to consider when moving here is basically, you know, public transportation. It could be different from Singapore. Singapore is amazing in a way that I myself, in my own opinion, I don't think you need a car in Singapore. It's a walkable city. You can cycle. Public transport is top notch. And you know, you might be kind of shocked when you move here because we don't have that much train lines as compared to Singapore. But if you were to compare public transportation, maybe in North America, then TTC in Toronto is pretty good. But if you're coming from a city like Singapore where it's robust public transportation, it could be a shock for you. When you first came here, at the time, 2018, we weren't really using the Presto or the tapping card yet. We were just using the token, which basically buy from any TTC station or convenience store. And they basically give you like a small token and you put it in, you get in the train, the bus, the train. You get in the bus, you slot it in and the driver would give you a slip. So when it came here, I was quite shocked that they didn't have like the tapping card right away, or at least they weren't recommending it. I don't know, but at the time it was just I knew about only the token card, or you can get like the monthly pass where it's not tapping as well. You get a TTC monthly pass and you show it to the driver. So for me, that was really shocking. You know, given in Singapore everything is automated, you know, it's so convenient. You go get it from a machine. You don't even have to talk to anyone. It's really kind of like the convenience that you get from Singapore that you're probably not or won't be able to get in here in North America. So something to take note as well. Now, another thing which is very controversial. I do not want to say it, but I am gonna say it, is food. So there's so many good things, so many good things, or many good food in Singapore, and we do have our hawker center there. So I miss my hawker center, and that's something you can't get here in Toronto. I feel like there's so many diverse food in here, different culture, but I feel it's not as good. It could be subjective at this point for sure, but in Singapore there's just so many small stores. I think it's Asia in general as to compare it here in North America where you have to sit down in a restaurant, or if it's self-serve, it's still quite different, I would say. So, you know, the food, for me it's not as good. So that's something you have to take note as well. It's not kind of like convenient where you go in, you can get like small food or like small street food. Definitely not going to be like that in here. But overall, you know, there's a lot of good restaurants as well in here in Canada. So yeah, I would say another thing, you know, one thing to consider in terms of moving to Canada, that would differ if you were an expat in Singapore or if you were a Singaporean or a PR in Canada. Now, why did I say that? So when we first came in here and I've shared this in my past video as well. Things to know before moving to Canada is that taxes, okay? Taxes are so high. I cannot even imagine. I was so shocked on how high taxes were, but I got over it. I mean, you do get the free healthcare, and there's a lot of benefits that you do get from paying taxes or paying that high taxes per se. But if you were an expat in Singapore and you're planning to move here to Canada, taxes could go up as high as 45 to 50%. So it works in bracket. The higher you earn, of course, you're going to be in a higher tax bracket. So that's something you need to take into consideration, given that maybe you do have a bigger family and maybe you're planning to move them all in here in Canada. So you have to understand that the higher you will be paying higher taxes, meaning that your purchasing power would go down and maybe extra money would also go down. But you know, by paying those taxes, we do get a lot of benefits from that, which is, you know, free healthcare for your family and other benefits as well if you do have kids. But really, that's a big factor you have to consider, is that taxes are really high compared to Singapore. Now, next thing would be convenience. Convenience could be a lot of things, right? It could be things about banking. So for me, at least, my experience back in Singapore was that banking was so good. Good in a way that it's fast. I don't have to talk to anyone. It's online. And it's fast, 24/7, Monday to Sunday. I do have someone to help me in terms of my banking inquiry wherever I am, or if I'm overseas. Now, the experience I've had with banks in Canada have not been very good at all. And you know, one thing I didn't really like is that the customer service that I was able to get in here, it's not as efficient as in Singapore. In Singapore, anything you want to do, you can do it online. It's very secure. I remember when we went to Barcelona and I took, of course, my Canadian credit card. It didn't work. I don't know why. I've called, you know, beforehand a trip to ensure that my card would work in Spain, that they didn't block it, or it's empowered or enabled for international travel. I've used my Singapore card and voila, it worked. So, you know, those are just some kind of the conveniences as well that Singapore has. It's a small country, right? So they've really done a great job in making sure everything was good, from services that they provide, the environment everywhere you go. So yeah, one thing I really do miss in Singapore as well, not just the weather, but also I would say the aesthetic of the city. A lot of people think, oh, Singapore is just a big city, all buildings and whatnot. Actually, Singapore has a lot of green trees and a lot of green canopies. They kind of created the city in a way that it would be a green city. So I never really realized it before. But when I moved to Canada, because for 6 months it's winter and it's kind of dark and gloomy outside, I kind of missed, or unconsciously, I didn't realize that I wasn't really seeing a lot of green stuff everywhere. So that was something that, you know, I really missed, you know, having every day, going out, not worrying about winter and stuff. But yeah, that was just a short kind of like overview if you're moving from Canada to Toronto. I'll be curious if you're watching this and let's say you moved from Singapore to Canada, let me know, share your experience below. And then for those people who has questions about, you know, how was I able to cope here, any Singapore related questions or any Canada related questions, put them down below as well. I'll be happy to answer any questions. I do answer any questions I have in my comment sections. If you've liked this video, you know, it would help if you could subscribe to my channel as well. But yeah, If you have any questions like what I mentioned, just drop it down below. And I hope I'll see you guys next time on my video. So, well, enjoy right now, and I'll see you next time. It's been really great in Toronto. The weather has been really good, so bye. Alright, thanks for watching, guys. If you're new to my channel, subscribe to my videos in here or click on the notification bell below, so every time I push out a new video, you'll be notified on that. And if you do have any questions, any feedback, please drop them below. I typically would answer any questions you have, and I hope to see you on my next video. Bye!